Oh, right. Reviewing. Let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good summer, which is almost over. Oh my god, why? The years are going by so fast. Welcome to MaffmanJones Movie Reviews. I'm your host, John Maffio, and today we're going to do something a little different, something I've done in the past. Over the last few months, I've been doing reviews, but there are sometimes moments and opportunities that are missed because I'll see a movie and I won't have time to make a review. So there's at least 4 or 5 movies that I've seen that I need to review right now that I have not talked about yet. A couple may surprise you, and a few may be expected. Welcome to MaffmanJones mini reviews. I mean, technically speaking, the summer is not over until the end of September, but look at what's coming out lately. Yeah. It's over. Let's start with a little movie called Inside Out. It's a Pixar movie. The latest Pixar movie came out in June, and it's about emotions in our heads, and the story is about one girl going through the traumatic experience of moving cross country. So we go inside the mind of this little girl and some of her emotions, who are personified in the emotions of joy, anger, disgust, fear, and so on. This movie is hands down, as others have said before, one of the best animated movies that have come out in a long time. It's got everything. It's got everything you want to feel. It literally is an emotional movie, but it brings all the emotion. It takes you on a big journey from beginning to end. Characters change, lessons are learned, and you do really get something out of it, whether you're an adult or a child, especially children. Even though you might not get a lot of the stuff going on intrinsically within the film, kids will definitely enjoy the pretty colors and they'll get something out of it. But parents, adults might get more out of this than kids. You learn a lot about yourself and the emotions you experience over your life that sometimes, I guess, being sad, being angry, having emotions that are not always happiness are not necessarily a bad thing. It is an incredible movie. It's very moving. It's beautifully animated, and I highly recommend it to everybody. Inside Out is mafadociously darn good. It's a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Also, P.S. the short film Lava is so corny, so cheesy, so incredibly stupid, but it is also one of the most memorable shorts that Pixar has ever done, and I loved it. I have a dream I hope will come true. Shut up, John. On to the next movie. Next is Paper Towns, the latest John Green novel to movie adaptation about this kid who's graduated from high school, but he has not really done much in high school with his friends. But he's always had this neighbor who is always very outgoing and adventurous and going on mysteries. And when they were younger, the two of them used to go on these little mysteries. And then suddenly, like most other people, when high school comes around, people who you thought you were best friends with suddenly turn their back against you. But on one fateful night, she shows up to his window, and they go on an adventure, and then she vanishes. So he wants to go find her, and he goes on a road trip with his buddies and a couple others to go find this girl and find true love. I actually really enjoyed this movie too. I enjoyed it more than Fault in Our Stars in the sense that it's more fun, entertaining to watch than Fault in Our Stars, because Fault in Our Stars, even though it has some fun moments, is very depressing and sad and emotional. This movie does have emotion too, but in a more uplifting way, in the sense where you can watch this movie on cable or come back to it at any time and get something good out of it. It has that John Hughes 80s high school feeling, but in my opinion, essentially, it's a movie that knows what it is. It knows what crowd's trying to cater to, and if you enjoy these type of movies, then you will definitely watch this and end up enjoying it, because I enjoyed it a lot. Paper Towns is a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a darn good Applebee's meal. Next is Insidious Chapter 3, directed by the man who wrote the previous two and is also right-hand man of James Wan. Now, I went into this apprehensive, but I came out of it liking it. It's a prequel to the first two movies, and it slightly connects to the first two in a sense where it's literally just a couple sentences or a couple moments where it's like, oh, that's how that happened, that's how this happened. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend the movie. It's recommended if you enjoy the first two movies and if you want to see how this all connects. But it's not a big horror threequel. All I can really say out of this is that it's worth it if you've seen the first two, just so you have it under your belt, and it's not going to make you hate yourself like other threequels have in the past. I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's just slightly above average. It's a Sam Worthington Applebee's meal. It's okay. Kind of forgettable, but yeah. If you want to, check it out. Next is Dope, the coming-of-age 90s movie that you'd think would come out in the 90s, but it's actually just coming out today because it's a modern retelling of a coming-of-age story that would come out in the 90s. Do you get all that? It's got good performances, not the best story, but this movie is carried by the performances and the camaraderie, chemistry between all the main characters. There are a couple cameos from some cool rappers, some cool people that you may enjoy. The soundtrack is unbelievable, so into it, and I wouldn't say it's one of the better movies that have come out in the summer, but it's definitely a really cool independent flick that if you get the chance to watch it, check it out, because you may get something out of it from a filmmaking perspective. Also, did I mention it's dope? This one also receives a 3.5 out of 5 star rating. It is a darn good Applebee's meal. Next is Trainwreck, the latest Judd Apatow directed comedy, which stars Amy Schumer this time, also stars Bill Hader, LeBron James, and a couple other people you may recognize from SNL and other comedy places. This movie was pretty funny. It was also emotional. It hit me in moments where when I saw it happening, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm watching a Judd Apatow movie, so I'm supposed to feel emotion here. But it didn't feel forced. I actually kind of really connected with the characters here, and when things went down, it felt genuine. Amy Schumer, I'm not the biggest fan of her comedy with the whole sex thing as she sleeps with all these guys, blah blah blah, but the idea of the movie was interesting enough, and it's just over 2 hours. It's a fun movie. It also has a fun cameo from my boy Pete Davidson. He's doing big things these days, proud of him. The movie talks about those issues, what's right, what's wrong. Are you pro-monogamy or pro-let's fuck everything that moves? It's up to you. And I would recommend the movie. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's not the worst, it's not the best, but if it happens to pass your way, I would check it out for sure. I'm going to quickly preface the next 2 films. They were directed by John Watts. Now, you may not know the name right now, but John Watts is the newest director for the newest Spider-Man movie that will be coming out in 2017. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero of all time, and I had to see what this guy is capable of. So I watched a movie that came out last year in the UK, but it's technically a 2015 movie, and another one that came out earlier this summer. First is Clown. The movie is produced by Eli Roth, and it's about a real estate father who puts on a clown suit to please his child, but it turns out he can't take off this clown suit after the party's over because his clown suit's actually a demon. And slowly, over the course of the movie, this guy turns into a demon clown. Now, that sounds really stupid, and you're right, it is really stupid, but the movie is taken so seriously. The premise is taken so freaking seriously. There is not that much fun to be had with this movie in terms of the actual script or the characters or anything. It's just a dead serious movie. I appreciated some elements of it. There were a couple scenes that were pretty scary, but for the most part, it's a forgettable horror movie that will remind you that clowns are pretty terrifying, but you would rather watch It, starring, that Tim Curry guy. But I will say the directing was pretty good for the material that John Watts was given. Next, on to Cop Car, which is a fairly marginally better movie than Clown. It stars Kevin Bacon, and it's about these 2 kids who run away from home in the middle of nowhere, and they're doing a little expedition, and they're like 9 or 10 years old. They find a cop car. It's abandoned. So what do? If you were 10 years old and you found a cop car in the middle of nowhere, what would you do? I'd probably run away. But these kids run away, and then they decide to actually drive it and take it around. But it turns out that car is Kevin Bacon's car. But is Kevin Bacon a cop, or is he actually a crazy person? Well, who knows, but it's a big cat and mouse chase, and it's a really thrilling, suspenseful movie that really had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. The directing in this movie was solid. There was some real tension here. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. It's a darn good movie. Definitely see it. Second to last is Before We Go. It's a little indie romantic movie directed by none other than Captain America himself, Chris Evans. It stars, guess who? Chris Evans and Alice Eve. This one is about 2 totally random, different people in New York City who bump into each other. They have deep, complex lives of their own, but they are forced, or at least she is forced, to coexist with him in order to solve her own issues because he's trying to help her. But then a little bit of romance sparks, and they both learn things about each other that they didn't know, and maybe a new direction will be formed. Even though this film takes influence from many other really, really good romantic movies, I really like this one. I was so pleased with it. It brought up a lot of things that occur in relationships and life in general, and it didn't really, some of the dialogue felt a little bit preachy, but it wasn't annoying me. I wasn't taking issue with it. I actually really enjoyed all the dialogue in this movie. Chris Evans is as charming as ever. He's great. Alice Eve really actually pulls through this role really well too, and the chemistry together between Chris Evans and Alice Eve is strong. You totally buy into the fact that these two are totally polar opposites, but slowly and surely, over the course of the movie, polar opposites become one. I could almost say I love this one, and after some serious thought, it may slip into my top 10 at the end of the year. It's a 4.5 out of 5 stars, mafiosously darn good. Chris Evans is so charming. Fuck. Finally is the most recently released film of the year, Sinister II. It's not directed by Scott Derrickson because he's off doing some Marvel movie called Doctor Strange. The majority of people don't know about that movie, but it's probably going to be really big. Yeah. This one's about, family, live in a barn. Just so happens that Bagul, the evil demon of this franchise, is there. And there are also these demon kids. Not to spoil anything from the first movie. But this one felt very uninspired compared to the first one. There are a lot of cheap scares. The performances are good from all the actors all around. The deputy from the first one comes back, and he's the main character in this one. And he's still goofy and stupid in a charming way. The scares are hit and miss. The story is lackluster. And the third act feels so rushed that it almost kind of annoyed me. Where I'm like, what happened in between here and here? You just cut all that meat out. But, whatever. It was an okay movie. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. If you watch the first one, I would see it just out of curiosity. But out of the two horror movies I reviewed today, I would rather you see Insidious 3. This one is very forgettable. It's got a couple really good scares, but it's kind of really stupid and not in the embracing way. It's a 2 out of 5 stars. It's a Sam Worthington. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little mini review video. Next, we have September, which actually has some really cool movies coming out, so can't wait for those movies to be reviewed. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out my Facebook and Twitter accounts in the info box. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I said a whole mouthful. I'm gonna nap now. See you guys next time.